President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to address Parliament and the nation at large on Thursday, coming at a time of repressed economic activity due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Kenyans continue to grapple with strenuous economic times despite timely relief measures initiated by the government to guard Kenyans from the shocks. And with infections numbers going up rapidly, stricter public health protocols may be put in place, which could damage the economy further. Victor Kiprop has more.
Until March this year, Kenya's economy was on an upward trajectory, projected to grow by at least 5.5% in 2020. Then COVID-19 struck and things went south. Smallholder businesses and informal sector employees have been and continue feeling the heat.
So many people have lost their jobs. They're still losing jobs. It is affecting our shopping patterns, which also affect our business, the way we order, the movement of the products has really gone down.
Kiatu kama hiki sema unatakana uuze kwa pesa ngapi? Nitakana uuze kwa karibu shilingi 4,000. Inabidi niuze kwa shilingi 6,000. Nianze kwa 6,000 kwa sababu inabidi uongee na mnunuzi, mkubaliane naye anaweza nunua ama hata nunua.
Between April and June alone, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics says 1.7 million people lost their jobs as thousands of businesses closed shop and the country's economy contracted for the first time in 12 years.
When you shut down, you're shutting down both sides of the economy, the demand side and the supply side. So you find that especially supply side, global supplies were not coming in because the economy was shut down, so importers were not able to import as they used to be. Movement of people and all that was not happening. Aside from that, we are talking about the demand side, where there is lack of money movement. So people are not, their business are shutting down, so there is no demand for money.
While agriculture and financial and insurance sectors managed to grow by over 64 and 4.2% respectively, other key sectors including hospitality, manufacturing and transport took a heavy hit.
You're running a tourist establishment, and some of it was a season where most of the tourists come from abroad. People could not travel because of transport restrictions on the one side, but also at the same time, people did not want to travel. So you have a demand and a supply side shock, both of them meeting, which makes this kind of problem or recession worse than a single recession that comes from the fact that you do not have sufficient demand.
In response, the government instituted a raft of both monetary and fiscal interventions, including a 54 billion shilling stimulus package, tax reliefs for individuals and businesses, and other policy actions to pump more money into the economy. And by the end of August, personal and business loans worth 1.2 trillion shillings, which is 38% of the total banking loan book, had been restructured. But analysts say more could have been done.
You can restructure loans, yes, but do business have cash flows to sustain their businesses? And we talk about monetary policy response. Monetary policy did its part, but did we able to save much of the business? I don't think so. We've not gotten to a point there where we can say much of businesses have gotten their cash flows back. And that's one of the problems and the response that the fiscal side was intended to help.
Their income tends to depend on whether their clients are and what's happening during that season. Now, if that person is not able to supply goods, right, and the demand for their goods does not exist, it doesn't matter whether you have provided them with a tax.
The easing of restrictions in July and August meant that businesses in the service sector such as aviation, hospitality and even entertainment are starting to look up, and small companies that were staring at imminent collapse are re-emerging from the chokehold of the pandemic.
Right now we are operating at around 70% occupancy. We expect it to improve because more so because of the compliance. We have invested in the compliance, and with this I think it gives the visitors confidence.
The relaxation of the protocols is however seemingly having a negative effect, with infection numbers rising once again, and going by the president's words, more restrictive guidelines are not too difficult to contemplate.
We are going through that very difficult time of saying, now what do we do again? Do we close up We shall be coming back to that, not today, but soon.
And while restrictions on movement, bans on social gatherings and even lockdowns may have proven effective in containing the spread of the virus, businesses and analysts say should the government take this route, the effect on the economy could be far much more devastating.
Sasa ukiangalia kwa duka hakuna mtu mwenye yako, hakuna mwenye ananunua sasa. Itabidi masaa za majioni watu wakishatoka makazini wanapitia wakiangalia ni nini wananunua ndio waende kwa manyumba zao. So wakiweka curfew matime za jioni itakuwa shida sana kwetu.
We lock down especially cash flows for businesses. And so we are condemning much businesses and most of them might not come back again. So those that might survive in the previous period might not survive also in this period.
In October, KNBS data shows that prices of basic consumer products such as food, clothing, shelter and energy rose from 4.2% to 4.8%, an increase of nearly 1% indicating growing demand. This demand for money has since become more pronounced at the national level as the government struggles to meet revenue collection targets. The tax relief measures initiated to cushion Kenyans from the effects of the pandemic alone will cost the national treasury some 172 billion shillings.
Our revenue performance is below our expectation. We are registering underperformance in our initial projections. And this compounded by the expanded expenditure pressure is definitely going to strain us.
The International Monetary Fund estimates that Kenya's economy will grow by 1% this year, while the National Treasury and the Central Bank of Kenya give much rosier projections of 3.1% and 2.5% respectively. Analysts say a stable recovery for the economy will be largely pegged on the availability of a vaccine for COVID-19.
We are contrasting with the neighboring countries and beyond. There are countries whose growth performance has declined, contracted by more than 53%. But that's not Kenya. Many countries, average of contraction of 30%, 20%. And when we released our economic survey report, our economy contracted second quarter by 5.7%.
With the country's public debt stock currently at over 7 trillion shillings, the return of restrictions could further constrain the government's revenue collections efforts and condemn it to even more borrowing. In the current financial year, debt servicing is expected to gobble up over 900 billion shillings of revenues unless the government secures debt relief from its lenders. Victor Kiprop, NTV.